come to our Amidah, our standing prayers, I invite you now to please rise if it is comfortable for you and turn to page 166 in your Machzor for HaTefillah.
וחיי הכל אתה רב לבושי words of the next section of our service, Unataneh Tokef, challenge us to our core. How can we pray to a God who stands idly by when the righteous are taken from this world before their time? And how can we not pray when our illusions of control are shattered? We proclaim the sacred power of this day when we rage in our hearts about injustice in this world and in our lives. We proclaim the sacred power of this day when we cry out in grief and anguish. We proclaim further the power of this day when we draw inward, seeking the courage to continue in the midst of the seemingly unbearable. We rage, we cry, we contemplate, and in each of those actions, we choose life. Despite the burdens and heartbreaks, the pains and the perils, we want to live, we ask to be inscribed in the book of life. And more than that, we ask not only that years may be added to our lives, but that life may be added to our years. Openness to new ideas, receptivity to new friendships, attentiveness to the beauty that day by day surrounds us. We who are here choose life. That is the sacred power of this day. Unataneh Tokef, Kedushat Hayom. Let us proclaim the power of this day, for the future holds potential, holds life that we choose to live. We continue page 174.
Unataneh Tokef, Kedushat Hayom, Ki Unataneh
Join me in the English on the bottom of the page. In truth, you are judge and plaintiff, counselor and witness. You inscribe and seal. You record and recount. You remember all that we have forgotten. And when you open the book of memories, it speaks for itself. For every human hand leaves its mark, an imprint like no other. And on page 176, and so a great shofar will cry, Tekiah, a still small voice will be heard. Angels in the whirl of fear and trembling will say, Behold the day of judgment, for they too are judged. In your eyes, even they are not blameless. All who come into the world pass before you, like sheep before the shepherd. As a shepherd considers the flock, when it passes beneath the staff, you count and consider every life. You set bounds, you decide destiny, you inscribe judgment. As we continue on page 178, I invite you to be seated.
Yehanemu
page 180. Uteshuva, utfila, utsedaka, mavirin et roa hagazera. But through return to the righteous path, through prayer and righteous giving, we can transcend the harshness of the decree.
Uteshuva, utfila, utsedaka, mavirin et roa hagazera.
On page 184, I invite you to rise if it is comfortable to do so, or to do Shah. Rabbi Emeritus, Rabbi Mark Mourner, to lead us in prayer.
Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imatenu, yaleh v'yavo v'yagia v'yiratzeh v'yiratzeh. Together, our God and God of generations before us, page 196. I'm a little out of practice. Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imatenu, ya'aleh v'yavo v'yagia v'yira'eh v'yiratzeh. Together, Our God, the God of generations before us, may a memory of us ascend and come before you. May it be heard and seen by you, winning your favor and reaching your awareness, together with the memory of our ancestors, the memory of your sacred city, Jerusalem, and the memory of your people, the family of Israel. May we be remembered for safety, well-being, and favor, for love and compassion, for life and for peace on this day of remembrance. Zochreinu Adonai Eloheinu bo letova. Amen. Ufaktenu vo livracha. Amen. V'hoshienu vo lechaim. Amen. Eternal, our God, remember us. Amen. Be mindful of us. Amen. And redeem us. Amen. For a life of goodness and blessing. Amen. Page 202, we rise, please, for the great Aliyot. Please be seated. Page 205. Ribono shel olam, power of all, have compassion on the souls of Israel. Open their hearts to do teshuvah before you. Open their souls for the sake of returning to you. Dwell on each sound of the shofar. Contemplate its meaning. Tekiah, one whole note. Shvarim teruah, 3 broken notes, 9 staccato notes. Tekiah, one whole note. My return to the right path has the power to make me whole again. Tekiah, once I was whole. Shvarim teruah, in the wear and tear of living, I became broken and shattered. Tekiah, my teshuvah, has the power to make me whole again. Together, blessed are hearts that respond to the majestic music of the shofar. Blessed is the gift of life, the power of renewal that brings us to this day. We turn the page. We rise, please. And we welcome to the bima our Baltakia extraordinaire, Ron Schneider.
Haru וקיימנו, והגיענו לזמן הזה.
Together, source of blessing, eternal our God, you fill the universe with majestic might, summoning us to hear the sound of the shofar. Source of blessing, eternal our God, you fill the universe with majestic might, giving us life, upholding the life within us, and bringing us to this time. Tekiah shvarim teruah, tekiah. Tekiah shvarim, tekiah. Tekiah teruah, tekiah. Please be seated. Page 209. Together, eternal our God, your people Israel yearns for your favor. Receive their prayer with loving acceptance, and may you always desire your people's worship. Divine One, close to all who call upon you. Bring your grace and presence near to those who serve you. Pour forth your Spirit on us, and may our eyes see your merciful return to Zion. Baruch atah Adonai, hamachazir shekinato l'tzidno. Page 212.
It
we rise, please, as we turn to page 214 for Birkat Kohanim.
Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha.
May you know God's blessings of shelter and care together.
Yair Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka.
May you receive the light of God's kindness and grace.
May it be so.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasim lecha shalom.
May you see God's favor and goodness, and may you partake of God's peace.
May it be so.
Tefillah Malachash, we continue with silent prayer.
On page 222. Loving Father, infinite power, gentle, forgiving, lofty, inscrutable, Avinu Malkeinu. Compassionate Mother, omnipotent Lord, comforting presence, fathomless mystery, Avinu Malkeinu. Our rock and redeemer, life of the universe, close to us always, impossibly far, Avinu Malkeinu. Embracing, confounding, accepting our frailty, decreeing our end, Avinu Malkeinu. None of these are true. None of them are you. Yet we stand as those before us have stood, summoned to judgment, longing for love. Avinu Malkeinu, may these words be a bridge. They come from our hearts. May they lead us to you. I would invite you to rise now, as it is an honor to invite forward Beth Schwartz to open our ark.
Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Koleinu. Avinu Malkeinu,
on page 226. When we first appeared on the stage of world history, a book was in our hands. This book, this sacred scroll, and we were told this is very near to you in your mouth and in your heart, and we were told you can surely do it. And then we learned this is where heaven and earth touch. We continue on page 227.
Ein kamocha Elohim Adonai, ve'en kema'asecha, malechutecha malechut kol olamim, u'memshaltecha
Adonai, Adonai, God compassionate, gracious, endlessly patient, loving and true, showing mercy to the thousandth generation, forgiving evil, defiance, and wrongdoing, granting pardon.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Echad Eloheinu,
As we prepare for the reading of Torah, words we will read from our sacred scroll can be found in our Machzor on page 240. The blessing before and after the reading of Torah can be found in our Machzor on page 230. And for the honor of the first Aliyot, it is my pleasure to invite forward Susie Hummel, Britt Rotman, Laren and Mo Finder, and Judy and Alan Press. Each of these individuals has been a big part of our Operation Sandwich effort throughout the pandemic, bringing much needed meals to those who are in need. But though these have been leaders and drivers, originators of the idea. There have been many who have participated in this effort to support those in a time of need. I'm not going to ask you to come up lest the bema tip over backward from way up here. Sorry. The 6 of you, I would love to come up here. But if you have participated in Operation Sandwich, if you have brought a meal or donated money to help others, would you please rise for just a moment that we might acknowledge this effort of gratitude on behalf of a grateful community and a grateful world. Thank you all for your support in this mitzvah. I invite you to be seated. As I invite you, can I have everyone come over to this side? As it is a pleasure to invite forward our Torah reader. Please, Robin, you are welcome to join us as well. That blessing on page 230. We join first in the Hebrew. You're good to go. Hamvorach, Baruch Adonai, Hamvorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol hamim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Amen.
Would you read us in the English? Blessed is the eternal, the blessed one, now and forever.
Blessed is the eternal, the blessed one, now and forever. Blessed are you, eternal, our God, supreme power of the universe, who embraced us and gave us this teaching, having chosen us to embody Torah among the peoples of the earth. Blessed are you, God of eternity, whose gift is Torah.
Amen. We're on page 240.
Amen. Vayehi achar hadvarim haele v'haElohim nisa et Avraham vayomer elav Avraham vayomer hineni Vayomer kachna et bincha et yichidacha asher ahavta et Yitzchak v'lech lecha el eretz hamoria v'ha'alehu sham lola Ahad harim asher omar elecha Vayashkem Avraham baboker Vayachavosh et chamaro Vayikach et shnei ne'arav ito V'et Yitzchak b'no, vayavaka atzei olah, vayakam vayelech el hamakom asher amar lo Elohim. Vayom hashlishi, vayisa Avraham et einav, Vayar et hamakom meracho. Vayomer Avraham el nerav. Shvu lachem po il hachamor ve'ani v'hanar milcha ad ko v'nishtachaveh ונשובה עליכם.
Blessing after the reading of Torah on page 230.
Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu, baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah. Amen.
English, if we might.
Supreme power of the universe, who gave us the teaching of truth and planted within us eternal life. For you, God eternity, whose gift is truth.
Thank you all for leading us in so many ways throughout the year. Aaron and Mo, don't go too far. The rest of you I would encourage to be seated, as it is an honor to invite forward for our second Aliyah members of our Torah study group. On Friday afternoons, on Shabbat morning, we have a wonderful community of adult learners, and if you are a regular during our Shabbat Torah study crew, I would invite you to join us here on the Bima. Please, you're welcome to be seated. Thank you so much. That blessing again found on page 230. In 3, 2, 1.
Baruch Adonai Hamorach Leolam Vaed.
Continue back on page 240. Verse 6.
Amen. Vayikach Avraham eratzeh haolam, vayasem al Yitzchak beno, vayikach biyado et ha'esh ve'et ha'ma'achelet, vayilchu shneichem yachdav. Vayomer Yitzchak al Avraham aviv, vayomer aviv, vayomer hineni veni, vayomer hinei ha'esh v'ha'etzim v'ayeh haser le'olam. Vayomer Avraham, Elohim yiret lo haser le'olam b'ni, vayilchu shneichem yachdav, vayavohu el hamakom asher amar lahu Elohim. Vayiven sham Avraham et hamizbeach, vaya'arov et ahetzim, vaya'akod et Yitzchak beno, vayasem oto al hamizbeach mima'al la'etzim. Vayishlach Avraham et yado, vayikach et hama'achelet, lishechot et beno.
On the bottom of page 230.
Baruch
atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam.
Asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam natan Eloheinu. Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Amen.
Yasher koach. Thank you all so much. Robin, thank you. Robin Hausman is seated. We invite forward Melinda Freed to lead us in the second portion of the third Aliyot, the second half of our Torah reading. And it is an honor to invite forward the teachers among us who have followed our students, our Torah Center teachers and our ECDC teachers, easy for you to say, those who are in the room with us now. I would invite you forward, that we might recognize you with an Aliyah as well. Blessing on page 230.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Leolam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Amen.
Page 241, the top of the page.
Amen. Vaikra elav malach Adonai min hashemayim. Vayomer Avraham, Vayomer Hineni, Vayomer Al Tishlach Yadcha El Hanar, Va'al Ta'as Lo Me'uma, Ki Ata Yadati, Ki Yireh Elohim Ata, Velo Hasachta, Et Bincha, Et Yehidecha, Mimeni. Vaisa Avraham, Et Einav, Vayar, Vehine Ayil Achar, Ne'echaz Basvach Bekarnav, Vayelech Avraham, Vayikach et Ha'ayil, V'ya'alehu le'olah tachat beno. Vayikra Avraham Shem Hamakom, Hahu Adonai Yira'eh Asher Omar Hayom Behar Adonai Yira'eh.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam natan Eloheinu. Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Amen.
Yasher koach, and thank you for everything you do, not only this day, but so many Sunday mornings when you wake up early to be here and educate the next generation. Thank you. and so many weekday mornings as well. You're welcome to be seated, friends, as it is an honor for our fourth Aliyot to invite forward the Madrachim who are here with us in this service, those who have made the transition from student to teacher, who assist during our Sunday morning and our Wednesday afternoon Torah Center programming. We are honored to have you with us this day. When we begin again our reading of Torah, we'll do so on page 241, beginning with verse 15.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Le'olam Va'ed. Amen. Amen. Vaikra Malach Adonai El Avraham Shenit Min Hashemayim Vayomer Binishpati Nu'um Adonai Ki Ya'an Asher Asita Et Hadavar Hazeh Velo Ha'asachta Et Bincha Et Yehidecha Ki Varech Avarechicha Veharba Arbe Et Sarcha Kechochavei Hashemayim Vechachol Asher Al Sfat Hayam Vayirash Sarcha Et Sha'ar Oyevav Vahitbarchu V'Zarcha Ka'ol Goyei Haaretz Ekev Asher Sha'amata V'Koli Vayashov Avraham El Na'arav Vayakumu Vayelchu Yachdav El Bever Shava Vayeshev Avraham Biver Shava. Amen.
Thank you all so much. Welcome to see me. Thank you, Melinda. With Torah in our midst, adding sanctity to our prayers, we pause for Misha Berach Lecholim, a prayer for those who are in need of healing. I invite you at this time to call to mind, to call to heart those whom you are thinking of in need of our prayer for healing. The words that we sing together can be found on page 245.
And let us say, Amen.
to invite Brian Rosenberger forward as we lift and dress Torah, that you might verify these words that have been read this morning. May I invite you to please rise. You to be seated as I invite forward Arnie Klein and Eric Udrin to lead us in the reading of Haftarah. Student Cantor Fox will chant the blessings found on page 247 before we join in that reading on page 255.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'neviim tovim v'ratza b'divreihem hanemarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai habocher b'torah u'Moshe avdo u'Yisrael amo u'v'nvi'eh ha'emet b'tzedek.
Page 255.
From Jeremiah, thus said the Eternal, a people, survivors of the sword, gained grace in the wilderness. Long ago, when Israel was on its journey home, the Eternal appeared and said, with everlasting love, I have loved you. Indeed, with a love that is faithful, I draw you near. Once more, I will build you up. Young maiden Israel, you will be made anew. Once more, you will take up your drums in hand and join in the dance of the joyous. Once again, you will plant vines on Samaria's hills, and the planters will live to enjoy them. For a day is coming when watchmen will announce in the hills of Ephraim, arise and let us go up to Zion, to the Eternal, our God.
And on page 257.
Thus said the Eternal, keep your voice from weeping and your eyes from tears, for your labor shall have its reward, declares the Eternal. They shall return from the enemy's land, and there is hope for your future, declares the Eternal. Your children shall return to their land. How I hear Ephraim lamenting. You have disciplined me like a wild calf. I have been disciplined. Help me return, and I will return. For you are my eternal God. Now that I have turned back, I am filled with sorrow. Now that I am made aware, I strike my thigh in remorse. Ashamed and humiliated, I carry the disgrace of my early life. Truly, Ephraim is my precious child, my delight. And though I speak against him, I remember him with tenderness. That is why my heart yearns for him. I will receive him back in love, declares the Eternal.
Thank you, gentlemen. Page 259.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, tzur kol haolamim, tzadik b'chol hadorot, ha'el ha'ne'eman, ha'omer v'oseh, ha'medaber u'mekayem, shekol devarav emet v'tzedek, al ha'torah ve'al ha'avodah, ve'al ha'nevi'im, ve'al yom hazikaron hazeh, shenatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu, lechavod u'letifaret. Al hakol Adonai Eloheinu, anachnu modim lach, u'mevarchim otach, yitbarach shimcha, b'fi kol chai tamid leolam va'ed. U'devarcha emet v'kayam la'ad. Baruch atah Adonai, melech mechol haaretz, mekadesh Yisrael et yom hazikaron.
I'd have a seat if I were you. It's going to be a while. If I told you that you were going to be on Jeopardy, how would you go about preparing? You might read some trivia books. You might flip through a world atlas. You might watch Ken Jennings in action. You might read up on all of that Shakespeare that you otherwise pretend to know. You might do a deep dive into 80s hair bands. And if I told you you were going to take the half-court shot at an NBA game for the chance to win $50,000, how would you prepare for that? You'd probably get a basketball and go to the YMCA or the JCC and practice chucking up half-court shots until your arms were about ready to fall off. And if I told you that you were going to win a $1 billion Mega Millions jackpot, what might you do then? You'd likely find a good accountant, an even better lawyer. You'd figure out how to unlist your cell phone from your high school reunion directory. And you would no doubt call your rabbi to refamiliarize yourself with the biblical precept of tithing. Not necessarily in that order, though, friends. Feel free to call me first. As Michael Schur, the writer of hit shows like The Office and The Good Place, discusses in a pretty great TED Talk, it's highly unlikely that any of these things are actually going to happen. Even knowing it's almost impossible, we spend a lot of time daydreaming and mentally preparing for just such scenarios. And sometimes we need that escape. But wouldn't it be better if we could prepare for something that's more likely, something a little bit more common, something perhaps that we will do every day? As we begin the year 5783, we each need a little bit of practice, a little bit of a refresher course on the experience of being human. Not because you don't have a beautiful heart or a good neshama, God forbid, and who am I to cast aspersions, but because the forces and factors pressing against us from seemingly all sides have been subtly sapping us of our virtuous humanity. Earlier this year, researchers Mom Farima Toure-Tiller and Lily Wong from Northwestern University and Zhejiang University published a series of 10 peer-reviewed studies demonstrating that we make better, more virtuous decisions when we're presented with information on paper than when we're in the digital space. We're more likely to choose educationally or culturally enriching books when we read a paper book list than when we scroll through Amazon. We're more likely to grant an impoverished child a material wish if we read it on paper rather than on our Androids. We're more likely to volunteer our time or donate our money. We're even more likely to make better health decisions when we hold a paper restaurant menu than when we scan a QR code or order online. How could this be? MRIs of the human brain show that holding something physical, a simple piece of paper, helps a decision feel more real, more tangible, and more consequential. The opposite, of course, is true in the digital space. It's just pretend. We aren't hurting anyone. It doesn't even count. It's not real, we tell ourselves about being online. And the worst part is our brains actually believe it because those decisions don't register on an MRI. When interacting with physical material, the parts of our brain, the right retrosplenial cortex, the medial prefrontal cortex, the cingulate cortex, all of those parts of your brain that deal with the integration of emotional and visual and spatial information, they activate in ways they simply do not when we see virtual media, even when we know there are real-world consequences to our actions. We've long known that forking over hard-earned dollar bills makes us make better financial decisions than when we pay with credit cards or when we pay online. And we now know that our decision-making in the digital space struggles to live up to our highest values. If you've ever read the comment section after an online news story, or interacted with a casual acquaintance over social media about anything that might, possibly, could conceivably be related to anything political, you've experienced how true this is. We are actually demonstrably not our best selves in the digital space. Our brains quite literally don't work in the way we would expect. Yet we live in an increasingly digital world. Zoom and Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and electronic medical records and paying bills online and direct deposit and online Torah Center registration and fundraising emails and QR codes at restaurants and ordering groceries online in Houston, we have a problem. Our world is on a trajectory to become increasingly, perhaps fully virtual, and it's leaving our very humanity behind. It's why we need some practice at the mere act of being human. Unlike being on Jeopardy or hitting a half-court shot or winning the lottery, it's something that we have to do every single day. So why not reclaim a bit of our virtuous humanity from the encroaching dehumanization of the digital world? I'd encourage you to start small. An encouraging smile for someone who looks like they're having a rough day. Go out of your way to say something kind to a friend, your kids, someone you work with. Hold the door open for the next person in the restaurant, even if it means they're going to get that table first. These are super small things that you're probably already doing, and each of them makes us pause long enough to recognize that there is another fellow human being involved in the interaction. When you smile at someone, so often you see a smile in return. When you hold the door open or sympathize with someone equally inconvenienced, we see that our actions, all of our actions, impact other human beings. I want you, I want me, I want us to think of the needs and wants and feelings of other people so often that it becomes habitual and instinctive and impossible not to do, even in that virtual space that our brains pretend isn't real, because we know it is real. Lindy West, a columnist and author and critic, shared her experience of confronting a man who had been trolling her on the internet in the most horrendous way possible, by opening accounts in the name of her deceased father to demean her in a way that would be even more emotionally damaging. The comments were as terrible and hurtful and jarring as you can imagine, and Miss West decided to share her pain publicly, which led to her receiving the most unlikely of emails, and I quote, "Hey Lindy, I don't know why or even when I started trolling you. It was the lowest thing I've ever done. There is a living, breathing human being who is reading this stuff. I'm done being a troll. I made a donation in memory of your dad, and again, I apologize." The process of reflection that this man undertook, which we have to imagine is exceedingly rare among people pushing vitriol and vile in the digital space, led him to his light bulb moment that Lindy West is a living, breathing human being. If you pinch her, she'll scream. If you poke her, she'll bleed. If you pretend to be her deceased father to troll her online, she will cry. No kidding! We should all be screaming, of course she is a real person. But that's not how our brains are wired. Things we would never write with a physical pen, we type on a keyboard all of the time. Things we would never say to a person's face get said over a Zoom call. Our brains discount that virtual space, and we must fight to hold on to our virtuous humanity. Start small. Think of the wants and needs of other people so often that choice becomes a habit, becomes a nearly unconscious always behavior that will emerge even in the virtual space. It's the first way we might practice the act of being human. Second, we might do a bit of study. And this is Michael Shore's point. Remember him, the creator of The Good Place? When confronted with his own moral failure and lack of humanity, he started to study. To keep from making the same mistakes again, to practice being human, Shore suggests that we read theories of ethics to better understand, quote, what they say, what they mean, how they purport to help us make better decisions and be better people. If Shore's point sounds to you to be very Jewish, it's likely because it is, because he is. A central thread of the show, The Good Place, not The Office or Parks and Rec, is about studying in order to benefit yourself and others in the world around you. It's pretty fortunate that we have an age-old tradition and source of wisdom literature upon which to draw. In Proverbs we read, "Do not devise harm against your fellow human beings. Do not quarrel with them without cause when they have done you no harm." A text 1,000 years old, 2,000 years old, that could have been written for Lindy West's troll. In the Mishnah we read, "In a place where there are no human beings, strive to be one." A text 1,800 years old that could have been written for reclaiming our humanity in the digital space. And in Torah and Talmud and Midrash and Responsa and Musar, we learn enduring lessons that transcend their time and impart essential wisdom about the mere act of being human. So let's use 5783 for some self-study as we practice the act of being human. Struggle through Maimonides' Guide for the Perplexed. Join us for Torah study on Shabbat morning. Attend a class on Musar, concrete instructions to live an ethical life, or read about Jewish business and legal and ethical traditions. Study our deep tradition will help us prepare for the inevitable complications that arise from being human, and they will help us to make better decisions and to be better people, both face to face and fingers to digital device. Finally, to practice being human in the new year, we must renew our focus on that which we can control. When asked about how on earth one person can make a meaningful difference against the enormity and complexity of the world challenges, Rabbi Daniel Hartman suggested we should narrow the scope to that which we can control. We can't end the war in Ukraine, or improve the conditions for women in Afghanistan, or feed every hungry person in Allegheny County. We can, however, tidy up our corner of the world, that which is within our sphere of influence, making ethical decisions even when it feels lonely, modeling through our actions and our words the kind of world in which we want to live, making differences where we uniquely can. It may not feel enough with all of the injustice constantly swirling in 2022, but to be paralyzed by the enormity of the challenge isn't enough either. Ani ve'ata nishaneh et ha'olam, az yavo kvar kulam, Israeli singer Arik Einstein sang. You and I will change this world, and then others will join us. They'll follow along. Ani ve'ata ninaseh mechat kala. We need to start from the beginning, he says, to start small. A single small act of kindness. The things you are already doing, repeated over and over again, until our habit becomes unconscious and carries over into the increasingly digital world that our brains struggle to grasp is as real as the piece of paper that you can hold in your hand. Study the age-old wisdom now available at our fingertips, ironically, thanks to that digital age. Assess and glean and prepare to better respond to the ethical challenges we as human beings face in our face-to-face interactions and online with people that we know are living and breathing human beings. Focus on changing that which is in your control, tangible actions that we, each of us, can do, regardless of what is swirling around or imposed upon us. And make no mistake, being decent, virtuous people is a choice, even when our brains want to pretend it isn't so. I do hope you make it on Jeopardy! I hope you have a chance to make that half-court shot, though it's an even further dream in a city without a professional basketball team. And I really hope you win the lottery, and don't forget to give Temple a cut. We spend lots of time daydreaming and mentally preparing for these scenarios because sometimes we need that escape. But most of all, I hope you spend the 5783 preparing for that which is more likely, more common, something we're asked to do every day, to strive to be human, even in places where our brains don't believe we have to be. Our world is on a trajectory to become increasingly, perhaps fully virtual. We can't change the negative influence of that virtual world on our humanity, but we can refuse to leave our virtuous humanity behind. Start small, study, focus on what you can control, practice the mere act of being human. Ani ve'ata nishaneh et ha'olam. Then you and I will begin to change this world. Shana Tov A. I invite you to turn back in your Machzor to page 268 as we invite forward our other amazing Baal Tekiah. Harvey Rubin, would you join us on page 268 to waken us up because it's Rosh Hashanah and we need to be awoken, not because of the sermon. And as you find your page 268, can I invite you to please rise? Either way. Tekiah, Shavarim Teruah, Tekiah. Tekiah, Shavarim, Tekiah. Tekiah, Teruah, Tekiah. You may be seated. 269. to invite forward our fearless leader, Michelle Markowitz, Congregational President, for some words on this holy day.
My family was always late for High Holy Days services. Having grown up at Temple Emanuel, I've been coming to the High Holy Days for quite a few years. In those days, my family would find parking somewhere near where Kelso meets Bower Hill Road, walk down the block into the Bower Hill entrance, and be immediately escorted into the kitchen. Yes, the kitchen. You see, at that time, when Temple hosted 2 services for many of the High Holy Days, the sanctuary and the social hall were so full that latecomers, such as my family, so as not to disrupt services, entered through the kitchen doors directly into the social hall to find a cold metal folding chair to sit on. It's obvious that times have changed. We are in a fortunate time where technology has made it possible for those unable to attend High Holy Days services in person to join this community in the virtual space. And I must digress for a moment and share my joy and excitement that many of us are able to be here in person for the first time in 3 years. However, even without the availability of the virtual space, 2 services and chairs as far back as the stage haven't been a necessity for a number of years. While this is far from the only change at Temple, it is an easy shift to quantify and see, and an obvious catalyst for the board's decision to embark on and invest in a major strategic investigation. In terms of scale, in 2009, Temple Emanuel had 582 membership units. As of today, that number is 451, a 23% decrease. Despite this decrease, between dues and contributions, generous legacy bequests from Norman Ettinson and Betty Diskin, both of blessed memory, as well as one-time grants and PPP loans, in combination with difficult cost-cutting and cost reallocation measures, Temple Emanuel is currently maintaining a stable financial position. The ability to maintain that position into the future is a real and looming question for us, and one the board is inspired to face head-on now in a proactive manner before we reach the type of crisis many other Reformed congregations across the country are facing. The time is ripe to learn how we may need to transform Temple Emanuel, and perhaps even serve as a model for others. Over the course of the next month, Temple's chosen partner for this endeavor, Outside Angle, will be sharing outcomes and options with the staff, board, and eventually all of you, all of us. It is truly an amazing opportunity to be able to think through options for both short and long-term change and ensure that Temple remains solvent, relevant, and vibrant. I am excited for us to explore these pathways together, which may include new financial and membership models. Through this work, I hope we can ensure that Temple Emanuel will continue to serve its mission of living, learning, and leading Judaism. While the importance of the board's emphasis on strategic planning cannot be overstated, we have not taken our eye off the ball for those of us here in the present. I hope you have seen the posters as you entered the building, or picked up a paper brochure outside, or even read last week's email to explore Temple Emanuel's new Congregational Code of Conduct. Last fall, the board created a task force led by Rob Edelson and myself, and including congregants Aaron Barr, Aviva Diamond, Erica Goodman, Eileen Isco, Alicia Kozel, Brian Rosenberger, and Holly Rudoy, along with Executive Director Leslie Hoffman and Rabbi Aaron Meyer, to write down and make explicit the ways we should treat others and expect to be treated at Temple. I want to emphasize that this effort was not undertaken in response to any event that occurred at Temple, but rather is a proactive effort in keeping with best practices suggested by the Union for Reform Judaism's commitment to, quote, ensuring that our environments are safe, equitable, and inclusive for all. Our code of conduct sets forth 4 pillars to guide us. We are all created in the image of God. We are all responsible for one another. We are thoughtful with our words and actions, and we are a sacred community. We believe that Temple Emanuel can only fulfill its mission of living Judaism, quote, when we treat all members of our community with respect, compassion, kindness, and dignity. I hope you will join me, Rob Edelson, Rabbi Meyer, and other members of the task force on Yom Kippur afternoon at 2 o'clock to study and learn more about the Code of Conduct. As the first Reformed congregation in the Pittsburgh area to undertake this work, Temple Emanuel is fulfilling its mission of leading Judaism by sharing this work with other Reformed congregations affiliated with the URJ. Temple Emanuel has much to look forward to as we enter 5783, and I cannot end this speech without expressing my deepest gratitude to everyone who has made these meaningful High Holy Days experiences a possibility. I would love to thank each person who contributed in any way, and intend to do that privately. But at this time, I want to draw your attention to 2 individuals you know well. First, to Rabbi Aaron Meyer. Thank you for leading by example and for challenging each of us at Temple Emanuel to be the best version of ourselves and to live according to our highest values. Second, to the less visible but no less important Executive Director Leslie Hoffman. Literally none of this would happen if you didn't do what you do and do it so well. Temple Emanuel is beyond fortunate to have both of you leading this team. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, as well as my own family, Pace, Meyer, and Hannah, I want to wish all of you a happy and healthy 5783. I look forward to continuing our work together to ensure that Temple Emanuel lives, learns, and leads Judaism today, tomorrow, and in the future. Shana Tova.
Shana Tova.
Thank you, Michelle, for your leadership, not only of our board, but as the third part of the team that makes Temple truly function. There is a fair bit of work ahead of us as people and as a congregation in this new year. We hope you will join us on Yom Kippur for the opportunity to study both a little bit of the thought behind our strategic change process, as well as Temple's code of conduct and ethics, opportunities immediately following our morning service. I'm so excited to begin talking more about both of those important parts of Temple's future. For now, though, I invite you to turn back in your prayer book, just as we did to hear the sound of the shofar on page 284, as it is my pleasure to again invite forward Ron Schneider to lead us in the sounding of the shofar. You know the drill by this point. If it's comfortable for you to do so, I would invite you to rise. Baruch atah Adonai, shomea kol Torat Amo Yisrael barachamim. Blessed are you in our lives, Adonai. You hear with love the shofar, true voice of your people, Israel. Tekiah, Shavarim Teruah, Tekiah. Tekiah, Shavarim, Tekiah. Tekiah, Teruah, Tekiah, Remain standing as we turn to page 286, words of Aleinu L'Shabeach. Page 292, we find words of Kaddish Yatom, bringing into our minds and our hearts those whom we have lost. If there is a loved one or loved ones you are remembering for our mourner's prayer, I invite you to share their names at this time. May the memory of loved ones we have named aloud and hold in our hearts be with us as an everlasting blessing. We affirm together words of Kaddish, page 292. Yit gadol v'yitkedash shmei Rabbah, be'alma divra cherutei v'yamlik malchutei, b'chayechon u'vyomechon u'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, Ba'gala b'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'lamei al-maya. Yitarach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitromam v'yinaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei d'kudusha b'richu. Le'ela u'ela mikol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechamata. Damiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shalama Rabbah min Shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. You may be seated. Just a couple of quick announcements before we conclude our service. The weather appears to be holding, if I'm looking correctly out of those windows. That Tashlich at 4 p.m. at Cannonsburg Lake is a go regardless. And those who have pre-registered are invited to join us for tacos immediately following. Our cemetery service is on Sunday at 11 a.m. in the Temple Emanuel section of Mount Lebanon Cemetery. As a way to thank Steve and Chuck, our amazing facilities team, we would invite you and ask you to return your machzor to the table from which you grabbed it on the way in. And I want to extend a number of thank yous as well to Leslie Hoffman and Sarah Mangan and Ellen Druck, our logistics and video production team, thank you. To Harvey Rubin and Ron Schneider for enriching our service for with the sound of the shofar. Gentlemen, we're not quite done with you for this service. To Kate Lewick and Steph McFerrin and Lisa Devorin and Emily Meyer and Steve Zoffer for their help with our children's programming this morning. And of course, to Sierra Fox and Rebecca Closson and Jim Burns for enriching us with the music of this new year. The next time you come to temple, whether that is tomorrow or any time before the start of Sukkot, we hope that you will bring with you bags or boxes of food for our partners at Shem, symbolically donating the food that you would have eaten on Yom Kippur to help others in need. Your contributions of just about anything, except for last year's matzah. That's still a thing, don't do it. Your contributions of almost anything will make a difference in our neighbors' lives, and we thank you for this act of generosity. With that, I invite you to turn in your prayer book now to page 294, a blessing for this new year. Hayom Ta'amseinu, strengthen us on this day. Amen. You to rise. Ron and Harvey, I invite you as well. Our God, God of our ancestors, eternal God of all generations, may your presence in our lives this new year renew our spirits, renew our strength. May it be a good year. May it be a sweet year. Tekiah Gedolah. Shana Tova Tigatemu V'Techatemu. May you be inscribed and sealed for a good year. Shana Tova.